Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. So I didn't do a breakdown of the first official trailer for season 7, but I am going to do one for the second one. So I'm just going to be touching on some of the big things that I noticed, so be sure to watch the trailer before continuing with my video. And I'm going to break this down character by character. So starting with Sansa, she looks badass, okay? It seems like Littlefinger is still trying to counsel Sansa and weigh in on her thoughts. Whether or not she trusts him or should trust him is still in question. I think she'll be doing a lot of behind the scenes string pulling in this season, and I just hope that she picks the right people to back up. Her last speech, where she says the lone wolf dies but the pack survives, makes me a little nervous. So my thoughts are that this quote could mean a number of things, possibly alluding to a full Stark reunion, which would be awesome, or is Sansa talking about Jon being the lone wolf? I know there was some tension in the last season between Sansa and Jon, so I hope she isn't trying to make Jon the lone wolf or accusing him of fighting the battle without the rest of the Starks. If Jon is the lone wolf that she's talking about, is it possible that he will die again and be resurrected? It's not as crazy as it sounds because 1, it's happened before, and 2, Beric Dondarrion is clearly in the north with his flaming sword, and he's brought people back to life before by means of the Red God. Or will Jon metaphorically die because he finds out he's a Targaryen? So the wolf will die because he becomes a Targaryen. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm honestly not sure if Jon will find out anything about his parentage this season, but I really hope he does. So more about Jon. Jon has a speech where he says, "Our families fight together." Who is he talking to? Like, is he talking about the fight against the White Walkers? Or is he talking about, like, maybe Robert's Rebellion? And if he's talking about Robert's Rebellion, what family is he referring to besides the Baratheons? Like, who else would have fought beside him that strongly other than the Baratheons? And, like, the Baratheons are all dead. And that would also mean that they fought against the Targaryens. So is Jon openly against Daenerys in this season? Or maybe if he does find out he's a Targaryen, then maybe he's talking from the perspective of Targaryen families fighting together? I'm pretty confused on this one, so if you guys have any ideas, please write them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So Daenerys, we see back on Dragonstone, and later in the trailer we can see the same background with the scene with Jon. So I think it's pretty clear that Jon comes down to meet with Daenerys at Dragonstone. Whether it's at the beginning or end of the season, I have no idea. I can't imagine Jon leaving the north at the beginning of the season because the White Walkers seemed like they were fast approaching last season, but I also don't see Jon being able to hold them back long enough to make a trip south later on. I wonder if he comes to see Dany as soon as he hears of her arrival, or if he goes after he sees the damage that she's inflicting on the Seven Kingdoms. YouTuber Emergency Awesome points out that in a scene with Dany at Dragonstone, you can see the outline of a dragon in the stone, which I think is pretty cool. And I still hope that that one prophecy about waking dragons from stone comes true eventually. I hope you know what I'm talking about because I don't feel like finding that quote. So Daenerys seems to be aggressively asserting herself all over the Seven Kingdoms. I'm guessing she's not having an easy time making friends. Grey Worm looks like he's approaching a cave of some sort and he's in armor. I've heard some people say that it's the Lannister seat, Casterly Rock, and I've heard others say it could be Storm's End. I think it's Casterly Rock because Tyrion is on Team Targaryen, and he knows Casterly Rock very well. He once told us how he managed the sewer systems under the rock, and he would probably know about ways to sneak into the castle. We also later see the Unsullied fighting with Lannister men, and some dragonfire, and Jaime running through a burning field, so I'm thinking that it's a safe bet it's Casterly Rock. Those who think it's Storm's End are probably just hoping it happens because it would be awesome, and possibly an easy grab for Dany. They argue that the cave could have been where Davos and Melisandre birthed the shadow baby who killed Renly. I think Red Team Review was the one that said that, but I don't think it's going to happen. I definitely think that the cave was the entrance to the sewers at Casterly Rock, so it's my bet. Daenerys also has her friends, the Greyjoys. I know we see a Greyjoy fleet approaching King's Landing, and I'm not sure what's happening here because I see Theon and Yara and Destruction, and then I see Euron. Like, is Euron attacking King's Landing, or is Theon and Yara attacking King's Landing, or are they fighting each other? Like, I'm so confused. I'm wondering if wildfire will be used again against the approaching ships like it did at the Battle of the Blackwater a few seasons ago. I'm guessing Cersei is fresh out of wildfire after what happened at the Sept. But they did reuse the soundtrack for this trailer as she did when she blew up the Sept. Maybe that's foreshadowing more wildfire. I mean, she really likes it, so I'm sure she's had more people making more for her. We also see the Dothraki tearing stuff up and just making a mess, so I hope Dany doesn't spread herself too thin this season. At the end of the last season, we see her fleet sailing to Westeros, and it included Tyrell and Martell ships, so I'm wondering what they're doing. Like, where are they? I don't think I saw them in the trailer, but maybe I missed it. And back up north, we see Mira and Bran coming back through the gate at what I'm guessing is Castle Black. I hope they see Jon right away, but he's probably not there. I mean, I'm dying for a Stark reunion. Arya also seems to be on her way north as well. And we see Bran by Weirwood with Davos, maybe? Or, as Red Team Review suggests, it could be like a vision of the Three-Eyed Crow. And that's who we see in that scene with him. I think it's a safe bet to say he will make it back to Winterfell, because it looked like the Weirwood at the Godswood in Winterfell, but I'm not sure. I hope my theory about Bran revealing to Jon about his parentage is correct. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's about the crypts. I'll link it below. And now that Bran is safe back home, I'm hoping Mira will split and maybe go tell the Reeds what's going on and bring their mysterious storyline into the fight. I mean, I remember way back, Robb sent some important information to Howland Reed, and Howland is possibly, most likely, the only one besides Bran who knows about Jon's parents, who is still alive. We also see Bran skin changing into some ravens and doing some recon over the White Walkers. The Night King definitely seems to know what's up, but I'm thinking this might be the most useful way that Bran can contribute to the war efforts right now. I mean, he could be like the spy / intelligence of the Forest. I'm sure the Night King also has skin changers, so I don't know. Maybe that's his role, is to take out the other skin changers. I don't know what Bran's story is. I don't really care. And the Hound also seems to join the fight up north, and I really hope he runs into Arya again, because I loved their dynamics together. And yeah, that's all for now. I'm just so overwhelmed by all of the ideas rushing through my head and the other ones I've heard online, so I'm sure I've missed a lot, but please feel free to add stuff in the comments. I'm really interested to see what you guys picked up on and what you're looking forward to most next season. A couple of questions for you. Do you think Jon will find out he's a Targaryen this season? Because that's all I want out of this season. Honestly, I'd be so happy. And do you think the show will use Beric's sword as the real Lightbringer? Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I have a bunch of videos out about possible Lightbringers in the story, mostly focusing on the book, but also the show. The Beric sword in the trailer did seem to catch fire on its own, so maybe that's the real Lightbringer in the show. I don't think that's the real Lightbringer in the book. I think it's something else, but I still think that Jon is Azor Ahai, even though Beric has the sword. And now that Beric's in the north, Jon has access to the sword, so maybe it could be the real Lightbringer. I don't know. So anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any theory requests or anything like that. All right, thanks guys. Cheers.